This video is for business leaders who want to engage the 64% of your employees who aren't yet. Yesterday, I spoke about a simple strategy that you could use to improve employee engagement, but only if you deploy it in the right way. If you want to check that out, that's Crush It Club 157. It's make work meaningful, something like that. Goes right there. There would be a tag, a mark. So today I want to talk about the flip side of this and how personally meaningless work leads to mindlessness. This is if you don't actually engage in what I suggested in the previous video. This is the cost. This is the cost you're paying now, but this is the cost you will continue to pay. So in a sense, it's a cautionary tale. So what this is going to talk about is how personally meaningless work leads to mindlessness or disengagement. And with 64% of the work population actively disengaged or at the very least not engaged, it kind of proves the point. So Bill Gates said years ago now, rule 9 of 11 from his 11 rules you'll never learn in school. This is an excerpt out of that, which is very few employers are interested in helping you find yourself. Do that on your own time. This is great, but it also proves way back when, before Bill had more media training and, to be honest, much lower EQ, that he said something like this. This isn't about finding yourself. This is about the way your brain works. And there's no amount of money, no amount of general willpower, which is going to help you if your job is utterly meaningless. So this is about making better. Remember, I'm speaking to leaders, not to employees. But if you want your employees not to suck in terms of their attention, to stay engaged and mindful, which leads to better productivity, better results, less errors, less job attrition, all that stuff, then you have to attend to this. This isn't about helping them find themselves. It's about helping them stay engaged at work. And one of the best ways to do that is make, just like it says here, right? Meaningless makes mindless. So if their work is personally meaningless, and there's ways to make it meaningful that I covered yesterday, but I will maybe cover today if I have time. But this isn't as simple as just giving a few pointers. But I will talk about some sort of overarching strategies that need details filled in, but that can only be done on an individual basis for employees. But that doesn't mean a great procedure couldn't be built. So when you're disengaged, what you get is this downward spiral, right? So if you don't care at all about your job, if it's meaningless to you personally, that means you get mindless about your job. So you're disengaged, you're not paying attention, you're making errors, you don't care, which of course the boss doesn't like or your supervisor doesn't like. So then you get in shit. So then you say, what's the word? Yeah, fuck you. And then it spirals down and down. So meaningless work leads to mindlessness, and mindlessness actually leads to or can inhibit your ability to find meaningfulness in your work. So meaningless leads to mindlessness or disengagement, and disengagement leads to an inability to find more meaning in your work, or perhaps even counters your ability or undoes meaningfulness that you do have at work. And with less meaningfulness, you become more mindless, and you start engaging your default mode network, which leads to negative affect, but by and large just means you're not paying attention at work. I can put a link here about mindful learning and how bad mindful or mindless disengaged learning or work can actually get. So excessive mindlessness and mind wandering is consistently associated with negative affect. So you might not care, but you should, because if everybody at work is miserable, then they are obviously going to be more disengaged. And every time they talk to anybody else, 64% of which are also disengaged, it's less than an ideal. This is whatever the opposite of an anti-virtuous cycle is. Whatever an anti-virtuous cycle is, the opposite of a virtuous cycle, that's what you're getting out of this. So I grabbed this out of some information while I did research on this video, And I thought this was really telling. It says, intrusive rumination is negatively related to finding meaning. So that's the fancy way of saying that meaninglessness, and especially personal meaninglessness in your job, and all of it is personal, will sort of increase your tendency to mind wander, which interferes with your negativity and also your ability to actually find meaning in your job, as I earlier described. So put it another way, meaningless causes mindlessness, which causes further meaninglessness, and so on. So to reduce mindlessness or disengagement at work, ask yourself, and then ask every other employee what's meaningful to them. This doesn't mean you're going to have to change a lot at work, but knowing that can help you put something important into the work that could give them something which is small but important and could make a fundamental difference on the ROI and their sense of meaningfulness at work. So there's in researching this video, I found that meaningfulness tends to be episodic. In other words, not continuous, right? So there's, meaningful, normal work, meaningful. And this kind of excited me because what it made me realize is this means you can design tasks, or you can design pieces of meaningfulness and inject them, personal meaningfulness, into people's work in such a way that it makes a massive difference in their perception of how meaningful their work is to them personally, and therefore keeps them more engaged. Now, this goes straight to, and this is compelling because this is leads back to one of my favorite books, and this goes straight to the heart of my favorite book by the Heath brothers, which is The Power of Moments. I will put a link in the description to that talk. I'm going to make a video on exactly that tomorrow. So what it shows is Daniel Kahneman and Barbara Fredrickson's peak end rule. So in essence, what this means is you're peaking over a period of time, a day, a work day. You're most likely to remember in an intense and visceral way the peak experience of your day and the end experience of your day, especially if those two come together. But a peak could also be a trough. So if you had a terrible day, you're going to remember that and forget everything else that was fine or just average, and the end of your day. So in the book, The Power of Moments, it was really interesting because they, in illustrating the peak end rule, say that on average, if you rate all the parts of the experience of going to Disneyland, like waiting in line and all the boring parts that are a reality of going to an amusement park like that, on average, you feel no happier than staying at home, probably sitting on the couch and watching TV, on average. But yet when you actually recall the event, you recall going on Space Mountain, or you recall doing the fun things, and you forget all that boring waiting in line for an hour and a half to get on that ride. So it's very, very interesting that we don't have to make work fun. We don't necessarily need ping pong. We need to be able to inject personally meaningful moments and design the work in such a way that they're allowed for. And I have ways to do that. So for leaders, this means that injecting these personally meaningful moments built into daily, weekly, or even monthly course of work could produce a massive increase in meaningfulness to them personally in their work, and therefore their engagement. So the video I'm going to recommend today would be yesterday's video. I will put a link here to that. And tomorrow's video, as I said, is actually going to be Crush It Club 159, The Power of Moments book review video. So the document that I have on LinkedIn will then be made into a video. So this is the end of Crush It Club 158. The whole name of this video is Personally Meaningless Makes Mindless. My name is Tim B. Green. Bye for now.